Pocket Hours is brought to you by Scout Real Estate. At Scout, we're doing things differently with our focus on legendary service and creating a community of producing agents to spur each other on to do higher quality work while keeping the clients at the center. Come see how it feels to work with a small group of committed brokers with the shared goal of upping their game. For more info, please contact Jennifer Nelson, founder and owner of Scout, 206-227-7966, or jennifer@scoutrealestate.com.
Hey folks, Jennifer Nelson here with Pocket Hours, and I am excited today because I get to interview the very, very talented Farley Bookout. She is the creative director here at Scout, does all things design and marketing, and she has some amazing tips today for brokers listening about what to focus on for those things, talking about the kinds of things you should ask your brokerage to do for you in terms of supporting you in these endeavors, and the things that we do, that she does for us here at Scout, that hopefully you can copy wherever you are. So here, without further ado, is Farley Bookout. Hi, Farley. Thanks for being here. So glad you're here.
Welcome.
Before we launch into talking to Farley, which I'm excited about, I wanted to make sure you all remember that you can go and listen to 3 of these episodes and then get 3 clock hours. And there's instructions on that, but 3 of those will get you, and Farley can actually help answer any of those questions as well when we get there. But first, we're going to just learn about Farley today. So Farley, where are you from? What got you to Seattle?
The from question has always been a difficult one. I grew up military, so I was Navy, and California, Texas, Guam, Rhode Island, Texas, and then here.
Okay.
What brought me to Seattle from Austin was, I'd gotten a divorce and I was doing poster shows around the country, actually around the world. But I did one up here in Seattle during Bumper Shoot, and it's called Flatstock. And I met this man. So after a couple years of distance dating, I decided to move up here, and I figured it'd be a great place for my kid too. I think she loves it here. Texas was way too hot for her. So
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Very cool. And you just mentioned, but you have a partner and a child. And anybody else in the family?
Well, my sister, who was at a gorgeous farm here in Washington for a while, she just moved back to Rhode Island. And my parents, they live in Tacoma. But we're hoping to get a dog. So we just bought a house, and we're just trying to find the right time.
Got it. Yeah. Ooh,
get all the travels out of the way.
Yeah, for sure. And what kind of dog? Do you know?
I think we all want a pitty.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
The best.
And so I'm following all of these pit rescue groups all over Washington. And I can't believe how many are coming from Texas.
Interesting.
A lot of my friends in Austin had pitties, and they're just the sweetest
really
dogs.
Are. As you know, my favorite dog of all time, as I look around to make sure Teddy, my current dog, isn't listening, but my favorite dog, Grace, was a pitty. I had her for 13 and a half years. So yeah, they're awesome. They are awesome. Okay, so you mentioned this poster thing, and tell me a little bit about sort of your background in design, and you design posters. You've done lots of design. Talk to me a little bit about that.
It's weird. When I was in college in 1990, that's when I started. Design was still very much paced up. It was cutting paper, using glue, things like that. Computers weren't really used yet in design. And I was a very tactile person. I liked to get dirty, charcoal. So I was mostly in drawing and painting, did some screen printing, got into photography. All of my skills that I have in design are basically an amalgamation of all the skills I learned in probably 12 different mediums before I actually started designing. But, everything you do in art does take a level of design. You have to balance all of your figures and your colors and things like that. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then you did so you came up for Bumper Shoot, and you were doing a poster for you. Was that a band?
So when my daughter was born, I adopted her from Taiwan at 8 months. I went to pick her up and came home and realized I can't go into the office and leave her with somebody else. So I stopped working, and we had a print shop already in our garage. My ex-husband was printing some on the weekends, and he was actually doing really well with his posters. I was like, all right, I'll start doing this. And so I think my first poster was for the Fleet Foxes or John Vanderslice, one of those. Austin has, as you may know, well, at least they used to have an incredible music scene. There were so many opportunities, and I really love indie bands. So I was doing posters for Austin City Limits, Mohawk for several years, and Flatstock was a group of about 100 of us, 98% men. So I was
Yeah.
I was a rare female, but we would have about 5 shows a year: Germany, Austin, Chicago, Barcelona, and Seattle. So the Seattle one I started running. I was the treasurer. So I'd come up here and we'd hawk our wares for 3 days and then sleep for a week because it's so exhausting.
Yeah.
But I had come up a little early. I was printing at Vera. If people in Seattle don't know about Vera, it's a great organization. They teach printing to young people, and they also have all ages shows, which are amazing. It's a very good organization. So I was printing there. Yeah.
Got it. Before you got to work at Scout, which I know is your favorite job of all time,
Yes, thank you.
What is your favorite job, you think, looking back over the years of different things you've done? What's your favorite?
All right. So I saw this question last night.
Yeah.
And I was showing Chad, my partner, the list of questions, and he's like, I know what it is.
Oh.
And yes.
He guessed.
I was a bookbinder.
Right on.
And I started bookbinding in Providence, and I was head binder, which basically means like we had this fabulous handmade paper that we'd buy from Boston. I had this glue machine, hot rabbit glue. It's kind of gross, but just all day I would stare out this massive window into basically the industrial district of Providence. Headphones all day, listening to NPR. It was all talk out of Boston. And just gluing paper on bookboard and over. It was so zen.
I love it.
I love it. Yeah. And then when I moved back to Austin, I started doing restorative binding, and that was nice too. It was actually quite terrifying. I remember one day we were out of an old house. I had to wash a diary of Abraham Lincoln in the bathtub.
Wow.
Page by page.
Ooh, no, thank you. That's scary to me. Nope. Too old, worth too much. Yeah.
But
well, that's
bookbinding,
cool.
all the words.
Bookbinding,
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and then kind of surprising turn, but this is partly why I wanted to have you on Scout, was to say, okay, how does all of this sort of transition into working at a real estate firm, right? And that's a switch, but ironically, and maybe not ironically, it does. It works really well. So your background in design and your creative mind, and she just said she liked this Zen job, but I would absolutely describe you personally as a Zen person. You're sort of this even-keeled, not much gets you riled, and realtors, on the other hand, are, good Lord, buckle your seatbelt, right? They're coming in hot and they're asking for stuff at the last minute, and they're kind of really freaked out about their commission checks, etc. And you sort of offer this just like, yep, we got it. We'll take care of it, which is beautiful. But what are some things that you do for brokers that you love to do?
You kind of answered the question in a way of there's something very satisfying in being able to just be a small piece of, don't worry, I'm going to take a little bit of what you're worried about and bring it down. I can't take care of everything, of course, but being able to help, kind of calm that theater drama student part of them.
That's fair.
It really does feel like I work for drama students a lot, but I think brokers are very big-hearted. That's one of the reasons they got into this. And so there is that connection of like, I'm a very empathetic, quiet person. And typically they're very empathetic, loud people. I actually really love, and I didn't realize this probably until I was in my 40s, how much I love to organize. When I was doing like art buying for publishers, I really got into Excel, and it's just kind of organizing and making sure that everything flowed evenly. If I can make a spreadsheet for a broker that makes them feel like something is totally off their table. It's fabulous. And then, of course, my most favorite thing is doing marketing material for brokers and just, creating a template and kind of, you want a template so that you're recognizable right away. Mm-hmm. And then just changing things up. Sometimes just plopping in new information or a new article on a marketing material is really nice.
Yeah, for sure. What I know is that I will come in to either a Marco Polo with you or a phone call or a meeting, and I'll have like this, look of consternation on my face about this list of things I have to do. I will bring up a topic, and the next thing I know is Farley's handing me a spreadsheet that she's already got it all organized and ready to go. That's something I count on because I'm like, oh, and I literally have this sigh of relief because someone else has taken what would take me hours to do in Excel. Because by the way, Excel is like a nightmare to me. I'm just going to leave it there. I don't ever want to learn it. And taken it and done it for me so that I could see the information right in an organized way and proceed. So I do really appreciate about that. The other piece about marketing, and we're going to get into this in a minute for the brokers listening to this call, is that we talk about this topic all the time, right? Marketing. We have to do it. We know we do. But as you get into being a broker, you wear all the hats, right? We are the head of sales. We're the head of marketing. We are the CFO. We are all these things in our own business. And so if you don't come in, which I think most of us in the drama class, as you called us, which is super fair, don't come in with this sort of niche in marketing, any idea, actually. We could take all the classes we want, but it's just not our forte. And so having someone like you at Scout working for brokers to say, let me show you a couple of ideas. Let me at least put something out there as the straw man for you to then say, oh, that looks amazing, right? Which is, I think you hear this all the time. Like, oh my gosh, did you just make that? Right? Like, you know how to do that, which is really cool. So what do you think contributes to your sort of out of the box thinking? Were you born that way? Did it come out that way? What happened?
Out of the box thinking. I think I was kind of born that way. I was the child that was always in the room, my room upstairs, listening to Johnny Cash and drawing. I had my little record player, and
Johnny Cash. I love it.
Johnny Cash. Yeah. Ring of Fire.
Yes. So good.
Yeah. The 70s, all Johnny Cash. I don't know. I watched people, that was my thing. You had asked before about like the human elements of my design stuff. And I was thinking about that. Like I loved life drawing. Life drawing was my thing in college, even when I was doing photography. And there's something about just, I don't know, the stillness of people, not just the model, but the entire class. And just, I don't know. When I went into photography, I ended up doing portraiture, pastels. I do portraiture. Like it's always about people. I don't really consider myself a people person, but I feel like when I draw, I see all of them. I try and put that kind of esoteric feeling with this, okay, something's happening in the moment and I have to organize it, put those together. So I don't know if that answers your question because I think I'm kind of confused about your question.
I think you did answer it. And I can say this is what I heard. And that's to say, while you're not a people person, you're amazing around anyone. You're an observer. And I think you sort of take in, oh, okay, this is who this person is and what they're about. And then you step back and say, how can I help them? And as different brokers are coming through, you can sort of gauge and adapt and flex to say, okay, this person doesn't need this so much, but they definitely need this piece, right? And the way you go at it. And I want to comment too about the human element. What I know of Farley over the time I've worked with her is that she brings this back to what's important, what's the most important, and that's people. And so we can do this piece or do this and have this business, aptitude, and we could be doing all these things. And she'll come in with this sly question in a meeting and says, well, how does this benefit the client? What's in it for the client? And it really stops all of us because we're like, oh, right. This is the whole reason we're doing this, right? It isn't just a business to be in business because that's boring. It's about helping people. And your perspective on that is absolutely awesome and is a part of why Scout is who Scout is because you do that kind of work. It's marketing with people at the center of it. So I appreciate that.
I don't really come at this as I have a degree in marketing and design.
Right.
Or that, I'm in real estate. I'm kind of like little bits of all of these things. And I think, it was a couple of weeks ago at a meeting and I was like, I don't know. I just bought a house and I don't think I'd want to hear that. There was something that came up and I'm like, this probably would not be a good thing to, bring up, or it would be a good thing. And brokers are so individual. And I don't mean to like put them all in one jar and saying, they're all drama students. I mean, they're more people than I am, but
right.
There is so much individuality and you want that to come through, just like with their branding, you want that to come through.
Pocket Hours is brought to you by Scout Real Estate. Hi, I'm Jennifer Nelson, owner at Scout Real Estate. I started this firm with the vision of doing things differently, with our focus on legendary service for our clients and creating a community of producing agents to spur each other to do higher quality work. If you are interested in learning more about how a small group of like-minded brokers have come together to have some fun while doing a lot of business, reach out to me, 206-227-7966, or email jennifer@scoutrealestate.com. I promise you this, fun is a high priority for me, but so is winning. So if you appreciate those two things, you might be interested in Scout. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Speaking of branding, I know that there are several companies out there, hundreds, I'm sure, that you can go and pay a certain dollar amount to outside of your brokerage to create a brand for you. And I think what ends up happening is that they don't ask enough questions. They don't know you well enough. They're sort of over here as this, and especially now, since COVID, they might have a Zoom call with you and ask you 10 questions. And then here's your 4 brands. Which one do you like? And the difference, I think, in Farley and what she offers at Scout is that she'll study you. She'll research your Instagram and get to know you more and then try to create a brand that looks and represents you. And I have watched this on a couple different occasions where you create something or send something over to me about a broker and I'm like, oh my word, the nail on the head. Like, it's really like, yeah, that really, really encapsulates who this person and their vibe and sort of some bohemian aspect, whatever they kind of are bringing to the table is showing up in that design. And that's a special gift. And I'm appreciative of it. So thank you.
I think here's why branding is important. Like, branding is kind of the overall major thing that you live with. Let's say you go on a date and you tell, on the first date, you tell your partner or your date that you're great at snowboarding, and it's the summer. You probably don't think you're ever going to see them again. They'll forget about it. But you end up being together for 25 years. And like every other year, they're like, why don't we go snowboarding? Like, you're so good at it. And you're like, oh no, I have never been on a snowboard in my life, And so branding is that, like, you can't lie about yourself because it sticks with your entire career, and so it really has to be you. And if you're not a super corporate person, don't get a super corporate branding, And so you start with branding, then go to design, and then marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, for sure. I think, too, for brokers on this call, we have lots of people listening, some that are brand new, right, in the industry, some that have been in a while, and some that are seasoned brokers. And potentially, I think we even have some parents of people that are interviewed listening, too, right? Some moms tuning in to hear their kid talk. But I think what's
my mom, sorry.
That's right. What I think is important for brokers to hear, and I like that you just said it, is that it has to represent you. It has to be you. And I think we try, especially as new brokers, to say, okay, well, it looks like that person is successful, so I'm just going to copy everything they do. But they're successful because they're being them. And so if you're a new broker on this call, or even if you're not a new broker and you have branding that you look at and it feels stale to you, guess what? It feels stale to everyone. Right? So it has to be something that when you look at, you go, oh, I love that. That's me. That represents me. Right?
Yeah.
And then have that continue through everything you do. You just talked about being recognizable. And so if you're having different looks and feels and fonts and all the things coming through, that's a confusing message for your clients, right? Farley has become sort of the marketing police in a good way too, where if, this needs to be capitalized because it's always capitalized, or this needs to be that way, or, oh, she'll look at something and say, nope, this line needs to move over, or whatever it is, because visually speaking, you have that ability to see what for sure I can't see, and I'm sure many others don't see, but we know something's off about it, right? We don't know what it is, but we know like, well, it doesn't really look right. And then you correct like a line and we're like, oh, there it is. Now it looks great. Yeah, it's perfect. I love it.
You know, the little wall talkers, I think some people like every word capitalized. Some people like them all lowercase. And I go through and I will see letters as patterns, you know, and make sure that they all around the house, you know, complement each other. They're the same. Because if they're off, then people will notice. Even if they don't know they're noticing, you know, people going through that house will be like, something's off about this.
Yes, totally. I was just thinking, and this is somewhat of a shameless plug here, folks, at the end of this call, so I'm going to just go for it. I'm going to say what it is and talk about it. But I want to talk through, Farley, just a few of the things that you do for brokers at Scout. And if you're listening to this call and you are at a different brokerage and you don't have any of these things, I would encourage you to consider Scout as an option, as a company that provides, I think, some pretty good service for what you pay for. So MailChimp is something that you do for us, and that is a passive marketing campaign that goes out to our clients. That's sort of auto, right? It's that auto thing that you do, but it's good. It's informative articles, and it goes out twice a month to our entire database.
No, MailChimp it's kind of fun. Like I kind of go through Seattle articles about transportation and family events coming up, things like that. So yeah.
Okay, good. Branding, we talked about that kind of at length a little minute ago, but just if you are someone who needs help with, hey, I really want to get something that sticks with me, that's something Farley's really good at doing. Studying you, is there anything branding you would talk about?
If you're new to the game or you do want to kind of start over in your branding, if you aren't sure yet, just pick 2 colors that you feel like, you know, imagine you're going to paint your bedroom. Pick those. Those are you. Keep everything very simple until you're able to, you know, find someone to do your branding.
Anything, I mean, you do a lot for us at Scout for our brokers, for silent talkers. You talked about those, making those look professional instead of like you wrote it on a piece of paper and stuck it up. Yeah, we actually have them in some frames, some acrylic frames now at Scout. So they really do stand out. They look great. Just sold, just listed postcards. I know you do those. You keep up with and manage the professional that we have that does social media stuff and engage with her about all things. Yeah. And sort of you're the gatekeeper of what Scout looks like out in the public, out in the socials. Newsletters, flyers. Does anybody do flyers anymore? I don't know. I don't really do them anymore but if you want one, that's something that Farley does great at. We're kind of getting away from it, but
I think we're all trying to save paper a little bit, but sure. I love designing flyers, you know, and you can design flyers for a Zip Your Flyer or something, you know, put those out on occasion. Yeah, we've done lookbooks, monthly mailers. Those are kind of fun. Lately, we started adding coupons to, you know, the farm mailers. So we'll do a farm for, you know, Highland Park and White Center and partner with a business in Highland Park and put a little coupon on there, you know, with an article and some just solds. And
that's great.
Yeah.
I want to go back just for a minute to the lookbook. A couple months ago, I had said to Farley that I wanted something that was more professional looking when I go to a listing appointment or have a buyer consultation. And instead of a bunch of papers that I pull out and graphs and sort of your general sales me kind of thing, I wanted something that had other people saying what doesn't need to come out of my mouth. In Ninja, they talk about it matters who says it. And so I could say, oh, my client said this about me, right? They appreciated this aspect about working with me. But instead, if they see the word negotiation on one page of the lookbook, and then on the opposite side of that, they have a testimonial and a picture of those clients saying, here's what we appreciated about Jennifer's ability to negotiate. That's a more powerful thing, right? And so Farley put together these books. I mean, they're little books. I wish I had one I could hold it up, but they're books about working with, you know, me. And so each one of the brokers at Scout can have those books if they want them. They're templated now. They're ready to go. And it is a definite showstopper in a good way for people that you hand them that instead of an 8.5 by 11 thing that you printed off that looks pretty stale. This is we worked hard. We have a good business here. Read from other people about those. So thank you for doing the lookbooks.
They're really great. The little 6x6, like hardbound Shutterfly. They almost look like the size of kids' books, but they're very pretty. I'm excited about them. So.
Me too. Yeah, it was a good thing we did. Okay, if you could tell broker, this is your last question. Thank you so much, by the way. If you could tell brokers 2 or 3 things that you think they should focus on for marketing design, what do you think you would say? You've sort of already said a few things, but if there's anything else.
I would say that definitely there needs to be personal touch. If you get on Instagram and it's just, just listed and here I am, at the beach and here's this house and I have an open house and nobody actually knows you.
Yeah.
I feel like pop buys are really important. It's sort of something of like, I'm still here for you when you're worried 3 years down the road that the house that you bought with my help is, you want to sell it or you want to refinance or something like that you're there to help with those issues. So I think the content on Instagram and Facebook is going to be a lot more special if you actually keep those people, in your circle. And then I have to say, like, mailers, I've been surprised at how much actually comes from little just sold cards.
Mm-hmm.
A little postcard, and they aren't that expensive to do. Picture on the front of you're just sold and a little info about you on the back and let's have coffee sometime, and sending it out to a farm and just doing that consistently each month or so. And I've been surprised when I hear back from brokers that I've done that for, of how many calls they've gotten from that. It might take a while, but after a couple of months, the people in your farm neighborhood are like, my friend's selling her house. I keep seeing this name.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's on my coffee table all the time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Good. So for those of you listening that don't know what a pop buy is, Farley just referred to it, and that's a Brian Buffini, kind of real estate guru coach guy, came up with it. And that's to say, we go through a pretty intense process when we help someone buy a home or sell a home. Typically, and this is true statistically, brokers then drop those folks off and sort of say, thank you so much, get their commission check and move on to everyone else. And what ends up happening is those clients really rarely hear from their broker again. And so the repeat business that we're all hoping to have, that referral business, only can happen if they stay in our circle. We stay in flow with them. That's a ninja concept, stay in flow. So Farley's talking about pop by, and that's where you literally pop by a client's house. And it's usually unannounced for those of you who don't know this, and that might sound scary to you. But what you do is when they answer the door, you say, I'm not coming in. So don't worry, because people are like, I didn't clean up my house, whatever's happening for them. They feel freaked out about hosting without being given some advance notice. So you automatically take that away. I'm not going to come in. I just wanted to say hello and drop off, this lavender plant or something that's fun and interesting, some seeds to plant, right? I remember one time everybody was getting a cold. This is pre-COVID, by the way. Everyone was having this cold. And so, little things of honey and a nice mug and some tea. And that was the pop by. And I went to 30 clients and I personally dropped those off. And the response I got was amazing because you're caring about them beyond the house they just bought or the house you just sold for them. You're staying in flow with them. And then when you post something like Farley just said on Instagram or Facebook, if anyone does Facebook anymore, there's a tie to a person. There's that human element again, right? This isn't just a marketing scheme. This isn't just something. This is me saying, oh, hey, I just dropped off some honey and whatever on the socials and took a picture of it. And people go, I got one of those, right? Jennifer came specifically to my house to do that. So I love that. And if you don't do pop buys, brokers that are listening, start doing them. They're a powerful way to get repeat business and also to just have better relationships with your clients. So that's fantastic. And then the other thing, if I could wrap up what you said, is the consistency is incredibly important. And we already know that, but boy, there's another reminder, right? Doing things consistently makes a huge difference. People feel safer when there's a predictable pattern to what you're doing and that you are there, you're showing up. And so, yeah, anyway, thank you. Those are great things. Yeah. And Farley, I'm so glad you're at Scout and you're our creative director and you're fabulous at it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I appreciate you being on the call. And I hope, listeners, that you've had a chance to get some nuggets out of this. And Farley, could you talk just for a minute as we close out about clock hours for this podcast?
Once you listen to 3 Pocket Hour episodes and you would like to get clock hours for those, just drop me a line at school at scoutrealestate.com or info@scoutrealestate.com. I have 2 emails. I feel so fancy. And then I send just a little 3 questions per episode, a little test. And it's super easy to pass. And then Venmo, $30. It's $10 per clock hour. So that's pretty cheap. Then I send you a certificate. It's super easy. And, usually within an hour you have a certificate. So it's just, yeah. And, so every 3 episodes you listen to or watch, it's an opportunity to get a clock hour certificate. 3 clock hours.
Awesome. Yeah. And the goal, folks, in creating Pocket Hours for me was to say there is a lot of bad clock hour education out there, a ton of it. And so what can we do that's relevant and accessible and easy for you to get a hold of that actually at the end of it, you feel inspired or you learn something. So as you're on your way to the next appointment or doing whatever, mowing the lawn, you put your earbuds in and go for it. You can listen to these different interviews and hopefully gain a lot of insight about how to help your business grow. So awesome.
Definitely. Please don't mow the lawn today. I think today is very hot. So.
No kidding. Yeah. Stay safe today. For the people listening to this later, we're having an incredible heat wave in Seattle. Yesterday was 98, I think, and today's 95. So we don't know what to do with that temperature here. We're freaking out. Okay. I always end the pocket hours to say, go be the agent you would hire. And that's to say, every day, if you were hiring an agent, are you doing the kind of work and investing in your business that you'd say, yeah, I'd hire me. I'd definitely hire me. I want you to be the agent that you would hire. So thanks again, Farley, for being on Pocket Hours. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening in to Pocket Hours. I hope this has been interesting, fun, made you laugh, made you think, spurred you on to do and implement some new things in your business. I appreciate your time and hope this has been a good use of it, period. Now, go be the agent you would hire.